Sorry about that. Couldn't find it at first where it was, what we were going to do today. So at this point in the class, what's a shame is yesterday would have been the date of our job fair. So we missed out on that. And unfortunately, I think that was going to be a great experience for you. So I'm sorry we couldn't do that. I will be sending out information next week if you are interested in doing an online job interview that we can conduct that. I'll start sending out times and everything for people who are interested in doing that. Otherwise, the second half of the exam was going to be doing a short answer, multiple choice on Canvas, and then another third was doing a budget. And that's kind of what I want to go over today is look at the budget and see, I did all the lectures about budgeting, but how do you actually fill in a budget? What should you look at? And so I'm basically just going to go through that today and show you what it should kind of look like here. So let me go to the share screen. And let's first pick the exam. All right, so this is what your exam, this part of the exam would have looked like. You're going to be helping a guy named Paul make a budget. And Paul's made a New Year's resolution to keep better track of and be smarter in spending his money. And using the following information, you're going to help Paul by creating a budget for him. So Paul makes $700 a week at his job. He makes about $200 a month repairing lawnmowers on the side. His rent is $650 a month. His cell phone is $125 a month. His electricity is $90 a month. His satellite TV bill is $89 a month. He still owes $300 on his motorcycle, and because of the loan he took out on that, he has to pay at least $500 a month on it. Or I'm sorry, $50 a month on it, at least. Paul's grandmother usually sends him a birthday gift of $200 in February each year. Paul's usual grocery budget is about $400 a month. His car loan payment is $175 a month, and he needs his car to get to work in the store. Paul usually spends $45 a week in gas. He'd like to take his girlfriend on a nice vacation in July. He estimates this will cost him about $2,000. He usually spends roughly $50 a month in car maintenance, oil changes, things like that. He's trying to pay off a $25,000 student loan, which he must pay at least $250 a month on. He usually spends $25 a month in clothes. He spends $20 a month on haircuts, which he needs to do to meet his employer's dress code. He spends $26 a month in car insurance. He likes to donate $100 a month to his church. He likes to eat his lunch at the restaurant next door to his workplace Monday through Friday and spends about $10 a day doing so. He owes his dad $1,000 for a home repair loan he got from him. He currently has $6,000 in savings in his emergency fund. This is my misunderstanding of teenage slang. This is the same girl as his girlfriend. I get this every year. Wait a minute, Paul's a player here. Paul has a girl he's talking to and likes to take out on Friday nights. They usually go to a nicer restaurant that averages about $40 for the meal, and then to a movie or a club, which costs about $30 for the two of them. Paul usually gets a $600 bonus from work in May each year. So your goal on this test was to prepare Paul's monthly budget using the provided table on the following page, utilizing the format learned in class, and be sure to prioritize his spending as learned in class as well. In any category that is supposed to be overfunded, overfund it by 25%. So what I would give you on the test would just be this. And you would have to fill it in and everything and set it up. And what most people found, and it was going to take too long to do it like that, is I pretty much just give you the format to what it was supposed to look like. So this is the format of what the budget will look like. And I apologize if you have to tilt your head here. I don't know if I can rotate this or not because it's a Word document and it doesn't look like I can rotate it. So you'll just have to tilt your head a little bit here, but this is what the formatting would look like for it. You'll notice up top we have income. Well, actually, I do have a better picture of it. Let's go to Microsoft PowerPoint here. I made a PowerPoint of it. And there we go. That's what the formatting of it should look like. So at the top there, you've got the category of income, and we've broken down the income into the four things he gets money for, work, mower repair, gift, bonus. And then underneath that's expenses. And remember, savings is an expense. We have an emergency fund set up as part of savings, debt repayment, ways to allocate our savings. Other expenses, food, which include groceries, lunch, dining out, utilities, which includes electricity, housing, which includes rent, transportation, car loan, gas, maintenance, insurance, clothing, hygiene and grooming, loan bills, the motorcycle, the loan from dad, the student loan, the cell phone, church, entertainment, which included satellite and date night, and then saving for the vacation. And you'll notice up there, the green line underneath income is where we would total the income for the month. The red line down there is where we would total the expenses. When you subtract your expenses from your income, that's what we would get on the yellow line to show us. And ideally, if you remember, what should every month on that yellow line be? And this is a question for you guys to answer, so I'll kind of wait for you.
$0.
$0. And what does that mean? If it's zero, what has happened? They've balanced out
the account. Yeah,
exactly. So that's kind of, we want the yellow line to always be zero. Now, what if we have more income than expenses? Should it still be zero? We obviously don't want more expenses than income, because then we're spending money we don't have. But what if we have a lot more income than we do expenses?
still keep it zero.
How so?
Put it all in savings of some sort.
Savings is an expense. So by allocating that extra money to savings, we are spending it in a way. We're spending it on saving, but we are spending the money. So excellent. Okay, now somewhere in here, and that's what I was trying to find, is the answer key so that I can show you what it all should look like. Otherwise I have to redo it, and I don't know if I have the time to do it. So I'd rather just show you the answer key. I'm having a hard time finding the darn thing. I don't know where I put it. Why I wouldn't have put it here, I have no idea, but apparently I didn't. So we're just going to go over here and search budgeting. There's the budgeting format. There's the PowerPoint. Well, let's do budget and see what happens. Consumer economics exam budget problem. Oh, here we go. I think this is it. Like I said, I like to use Excel. So I put this all on an Excel spreadsheet. So let's see if we can reduce this just a little bit. No, that's not going to help us. Here we go. Let's see if we can reduce that to 75%. We're going to get any of this stuff on the side. All right, so let's go through our budget the way we had it listed, blank, and see what we get here. How I did this. All right, so you'll notice in the category of income, and this all comes from that page with all the letters that I read off to you with all of his financial information. So from work, he gets $2,800 a month. Now you'll notice that this budget is only from January to July. So that's 7 times 2,800 basically. And that comes to $19,600. That's how much he'll put on this, what basically a semi-annual budget here is that $19,600. He makes $200 a month in mower repair. 200 times 7 is $1,400. He gets that birthday gift from his mom or his grandmother of $200 in February when his birthday is. So the $200 is only going to be shown in February. And then he gets that bonus of $600 from his work in May. So that's only going to be shown in the month of May. So you'll notice when we total each month, January is $3,000, February is $3,200, March is $3,000, April is $3,000, May is $3,600, June is $3,000, July is $3,000. And here's how you check your math on a budget or accounting or something like that when you're doing what's called the dual entry system. If I add everything for work from January to July over, that's $19,600. And it's same thing for mower repair, the gift, the bonus. When I add all that up, it should come to what's in the green there, $21,800. Now, when I add everything down for each month, I get all these 3,000, 3,200, 3,000, 3,000, 3,600, 3,000, 3,000. When I add all that across, it should also equal 21,800. If there's any discrepancy when I add it down and across, if they don't equal 21,800, then I've done something wrong somewhere and I need to recheck my math. So that's my income. And so, that's the first thing that I'm going to do is how much money do I have coming in here? All right, so let's go down and look at the expenses. And according to our prioritization, what's the first thing we're supposed to be doing with our expenses? What's the first thing we're supposed to put money towards?
Savings.
Savings. And how much should we put towards savings? Do you recall?
I do not.
10% is what is recommended by financial experts. 10% of your income is supposed to go towards savings. Now, so you've got your 10% of your income you're putting towards savings. And that's the first thing you're doing with your paycheck or any income that comes in. What's the first thing you should do with your savings? Hint, it's listed right here.
I don't know if it's just me, but it's still showing the Word document.
Oh, hold still. We'll fix that. I apologize. I thought you guys were seeing this. My fault. There you go. How's that?
Yeah, it's on Excel now.
Okay, well, I thought that I could move around and show you different things, but apparently it stays on that same screen. So my fault, my apologies. I learned something new about Zoom here too. Okay, so here's the spreadsheet with and you see what I mean about the income then. When I add it across and when I add it down, it should equal the 21,800. And again, I thought you guys were seeing this, so I apologize. I feel a little foolish now. Okay, so savings is our first expense. What's the first thing we should do with our savings?
The emergency fund.
The emergency fund. What should your emergency fund equal? And you can look at the numbers here, but you're really not going to see it unless you know. According to the financial experts, your emergency fund should equal at least 3 months of your total average expenses for the year. So so we're not going to be able to calculate how much we need to put towards our emergency fund from our savings until we calculate all of our expenses down here. And so let's say we've done that. And if you look down at the red line here, can you guys see my cursor? Down on the red line there, the cross?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you look down here on that red line, the expense totals, if we add all these up together and then divide it by 7, and that will give us our average monthly. And then how much is our emergency fund? How much is it supposed to be? How many months?
3.
3. So we take that average month and we multiply it by 3, and that's how much we should have in our emergency fund. So if we do the math here, and we can just do it on the spreadsheet here, we got 23,800. So let me come over here. We got 23,800 divided by 7, and that gives us $3,400. That's our average expense per month. And then if we take this 3,400 and multiply it by 3, this is how much we should have in our emergency fund. $10,200. Now, I did say he already had some money in his emergency fund. Do you guys remember how much that was? It was $6,000.
$6,000.
You don't have to remember it. That was one of the things I read to you off that sheet. So in our emergency fund, you'll notice I've written here previous balance. And again, up here where the cross is. The previous balance, $6,000. And notice I put that in a column before January. So I have $6,000. 10% of 3,000 is?
300.
300. So that's how much I'm going to add to my savings. And what's the first thing I'm going to do with my savings? I'm going to put it in the emergency fund. So that's $300 from savings that I'm going to allocate into an emergency fund. And then now that takes my balance in my emergency fund to $6,300. 10,200 minus 6,300 is negative 3,900. All right, so that's how much I have yet to go to reach 10,200. I still have to save $3,900. So the next month is 3,200. How much am I going to put in savings?
320.
320.
320. So that now I've got 6,620. I still need 3,580. And you do that for each month. At the end of the 7 months, I'll have $8,180 in my savings account. So have I met my emergency fund goal?
No.
No, I'm still $2,020 short here. So I saved in the 7 months, I saved $2,180 total, and adding that to my 6,000 gives me the 8,180, but I'm still a little bit short on my emergency fund. If I had met my emergency fund, and let's say I had $11,000 in savings, what would I do with that extra, $800? What would be the next thing I would do with my savings?
Put it into debt repayment.
Exactly. I would start paying off some of my more major debt with it. And so I've listed the debt repayment here, the motorcycle, the loan from dad, the student loan, but you'll notice I have put nothing in these cells because I have yet to meet my emergency fund goal. So those are going to stay blank. Okay, so once you have allocated to savings, according to that prioritization I gave you that most financial experts agree on, what should be the next expense I pay for?
Food.
Food. You can't run on an empty stomach, man. Your body will flip out on you. You ever gone to the grocery store hungry? You start buying everything in sight. So food is, the next thing that we try to cover. So if you'll notice, I've allocated here all my groceries, and I'm going to go back to that sheet to show you how much he spends on groceries here. Okay, maybe not. All right, let's go back up to that sheet. Okay, so if we look through this, and I did not put this in any order because I didn't want to give it away. I wanted you guys to think. But if I go through this and I start looking, Paul, letter I right here. Paul's usual grocery budget is about $400 a month. So what should we enter in groceries for each month?
400.
400? Anybody disagree with that? Okay, but what did we say when it came to the grocery budget and the psychological effect of food that we should do with the grocery budget? Matter of fact, I even put it on the instructions that I read you. So let me go back to them and see if you notice it. There it is. What should we do with our grocery budget? Remember, the financial experts say because of the psychological effect of food and it being a basic necessity, and so we don't go to the store feeling like oh my God, I don't have enough money. That's not going to be enough. We can't cover it. And overbuying, you should do what to prepare for that?
Budget it lower than what he usually spends.
Lower? That means
Higher.
He less money. Higher, exactly. As a matter of fact, down at the bottom of this sheet here, you'll notice in any category that is supposed to be overfunded, overfund it by 25%. And 25% of 400 is
100.
$100. And so 400 plus 100 then is.
500.
So how much should we be budgeting in this grocery budget?
$500.
$500. So if we go back and look at the budget, sure enough, you can see groceries, we've budgeted $500 for every month there. So 500 times 7 is 3,500. For lunch, he pays normally $200 a week or a month in lunch. So that's about $50 a week. He spends $10 a day, you know, if he works a 5-day week. Dining out, we put $160. That's how much he likes to go spend at the restaurants on his date night. Now you'll notice down here in entertainment, date night, I could have included that here and made this 180 instead of splitting it, but I decided to split it just to keep those separate. But if you had done this in class, I wouldn't have counted you off if you had put date night 180 and dining out 0 up here. So utilities are what comes next according to that prioritization. I tried to make it simple. He basically has electricity, so he pays $90 a month. 90 times 7 is $630. His rent is $650 a month. That comes out to $4,550. His car loan is $175 a month. Gas $180, maintenance $50, insurance $26, clothing $25 a month, hygiene and grooming $20 a month. Loan bills, and this is where some people kind of get confused. He has to pay the motorcycle because it's an installment fixed payment loan. So he has to pay it. He can't go, well, I'll just wait till I get to my savings to pay this. What he could do, and you'll notice up in savings, we do have motorcycle listed for debt repayment. But what you use savings for is to pay more on top of what you have to pay anyway. So the motorcycle payment is a bill he has to pay, at least if he wants to keep the motorcycle. And then once he gets into his savings, he can pay more than the minimum amount that he's required to pay. So he's required to pay at least the $50 a month, which comes to $300 over the 7-month cycle. But if he could if he could establish his emergency fund and get into his debt repayment portion of his savings, he might be able to take the whole $300 he was getting a month and pay $350 now towards his motorcycle and pay it off a lot quicker and save money on the interest that would have accumulated. Same with his student loan once he got to that. Now, the motorcycle loan is a lot smaller than the student loan. Matter of fact, if you notice, there is no motorcycle loan listed in column M there for the month of July. Why do you think that is?
He paid it off.
He paid it off. It was only $750, so he's already paid it off. Or you know, I can't remember how much he owed, 250 still on it or something, but he paid it off. So now we don't have to worry about that bill in July. So that's $50 extra now that he can allocate to something else. And where's the first place he's going to allocate it?
Savings.
Savings. It's going to be excess. Remember, we talked about excess being on there that you would then allocate it to savings, or, you know, maybe, you know, hiking up some other bill you'd pay on a regular basis or something. Now, he's required to pay the motorcycle loan and the student loan. His dad's a real nice guy and says, just pay me back whenever you have the money. And so since he's not required to pay his dad back on a regular basis, you'll notice that that column there is all zeros. Now, what he should do, since his motorcycle was the smallest loan, remember that debt snowball? The motorcycle would be what he'd pay first, and then the loan from dad. He's not going to leave his dad hanging forever, but now that he's paid off the motorcycle, if he can get his emergency fund established, then he can work on paying back his dad. That's where that extra $50 and then the $300 in savings will go right to paying off his dad. And then his next biggest debt's the student loan, that then he would work on paying that off above the minimum $250. Do you see how that's working?
Yeah.
Okay, good, because I'm going to assume by your silence you do if you don't have questions about it. All right, so then we have the cell phone, church or charitable giving, entertainment, the satellite, the date night, and his vacation. savings. And you notice I said he needed $2,000 to go on the vacation. I just divided that $2,000 by 7, and almost every month is $285.71, except the last month there is $285.74 because there was a 3-cent remainder when you divided it by 7. And so I add all this up, all these expense totals, and again, if I add them down, they should equal 23,800. And to check it, if I add all these columns down and get these totals, when I add this across, I should also get 23,800. And if you don't, you've done something wrong. So now I'm going to subtract the red line from the green line. And $3,000 is how much income I had in January, but look at my expenses. $3,395.71. That's a difference, that's a negative difference of $395.71. That means I am in accounting terms, I'm in the red. That's bad. I'm spending more money in January than I have. And you'll notice that if I add up all the months in that 7-month period, I'm actually spending $2,000 more than I'm making. So that brings us to the questions on the test that I would ask of you. So let's go to the test here real quick and go through those questions. Is Paul's budget balanced?
No.
No, it's not, because it was at negative $2,000. If it was balanced, what number would it be?
0.
0. Okay, what is one easy step Paul could take to save even more money without shutting anything off or changing any of his priorities? Well, maybe instead of paying to go to the club, maybe they go find some free entertainment, like the local band playing on a Friday night. Maybe he brings his lunch to work instead of going out to lunch every day. So there's little things we talked about in class that you could do to change your budget and kind of give you more savings to focus on and prioritize on. What is the one area that if he cut it out, it would balance his budget? Remember, his budget is negative $2,000. How much was that vacation going to be?
$2,000.
$2,000. So maybe now is not the best time to start planning and saving for a vacation. In other words, because if he took the money he'd been saving for the vacation and put it towards his bills, his budget would be balanced. At the end of July, where does Paul stand with his emergency fund? We kind of already went over that. And I'll skip the reconciliation of the account here in terms of time. I'll assume that you can kind of figure that one out on your own. That's probably something you've been doing math-wise since at least 6th grade. So do you guys have any questions at all about the budgeting portion and how I worked that and how I did that? Like I said, if we were in class, you would have just got the blank graph. I would have put how to format it up on the board, but you would have had to figure out all the priorities and everything, and I would have just helped you. So this is kind of just a quick introduction. Hey, here's how it would have gone. So hopefully you kind of see how a budget is set up, how I consider the priorities and things like that, that hopefully you can then use that in your own life starting now or later in the future. So any questions regarding any of that? Okay, guys, well, that's the last thing I have for this week. Hopefully we'll see you back Tuesday. Not as nice a day today as it was yesterday, but hopefully it'll clear up and you guys will have a decent weekend to go out and do whatever you can in this quarantine with. Everybody doing okay?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
All right, guys, well, hopefully, I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
Are you recording these and putting them somewhere?
Yes.
Where
it does
is
take
that?
some time to convert them and then to download them to YouTube. So I'm really, time-wise, I'm doing that about once a week.
Okay, it's not a big deal. I just missed a couple, so I was gonna catch
Well,
up.
last week's are all out there. Tomorrow I'm going to work on putting this week's out there. So.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, guys, have a good weekend, and hopefully I'll see you Tuesday. Take care.
You too.
You too.